They didn't just hide our history. They replaced it with a script that keeps us blind. But the real source is still glowing beneath the surface. Welcome to the Great Reclamation. In this series, we dismantle the narrative of colonial encounter to reveal the truth of the Nazarite movement. Founded by Isaiah Shembe in 1910, this movement was not a religious blending, but a systematic architect-level restoration of the universal altar, a primordial wisdom that predates the Abrahamic faiths by millennia. We are going to unearth the original manuscript of human consciousness. History is not a line, it is a signal. And for too long, that signal has been intercepted. Most academic narratives tell you that civilization began in the north, or that humanity's cradle is a collection of scattered bones in the Great Lakes. They are looking at the remains. We are looking at the technology. We start here, at the base. In the south, if we measure civilization not by fossils, but by the sophistication of the spiritual ritual, the mastery of pharmacology, and the alignment of the stars, then southern Africa is the cerebrum of the continent. The Lubumbo Mountains were not just a range, they were a prehistoric observatory, anchoring a blueprint that was already ancient before the first stone was laid in Kemet. This southern signal flowed north, following the spine of the Nile, to consolidate into the Ankh, the house of life. The Ankh was not a church or a library. It was the universal operating system. It was a laboratory where the divine was not believed, it was calculated. In the Ankh, the sciences were never separated. Medicine, astronomy, law, and theology were a single praxis. This was the inherited blueprint. It taught that the human body is a biological altar, a mirror of the cosmos. To enter the Ankh was to undergo a recalibration, to move from the fragmented mind to the universal record. And while the great stone structures of the north may have fallen into ruin, the curriculum of the Ankh was never truly erased. We see its echoes today, subtle, persistent trickles of these ancient initiation ceremonies preserved within our traditional rites of passage and sacred rituals. From the seclusion of our initiatory lodges to the specific geometric precision of our ceremonial dances, the DNA of the House of Life still pulses through our contemporary spiritual life, waiting to be recognized for what it truly is, an unbroken chain of high African science. This is the secret the modern curriculum hides. The fathers of Western philosophy were actually students of the African Ankh. Pythagoras spent 22 years in the temples of Egypt. Plato was an initiate. They did not invent geometry or philosophy. They were granted a fragmented access to the universal record. They took the African science, translated it into a Greek dialect, and sold it back to the world as Western rationalism. But they lacked the frequency. They took the math, but they left the spirit. They took the map, but they forgot the territory. They were apprentices to a blueprint they could never fully master. The blueprint didn't just birth philosophy, it birthed the prophets. Moses was not a foreign figure to Egypt. He was a prince of Kemet, a high-ranking initiate of the Ankh. Every miracle associated with his name, the command over the elements, the understanding of the cloud, was the application of the higher African science he learned within the House of Life. The Exodus was not just a movement of people, it was the migration of one portion of the universal archive. Even Jesus, the Nazarene, was brought into Egypt as a child to be recalled to the source. The lost years of his life were spent within the Ankh, recalibrating his biological altar to the frequency of the Father. He wasn't bringing a new religion, he was trying to restore the inherited blueprint to a people who had fallen into the prism of distortion. This is the moment of the reclamation. We must stop calling it Bible history. That term is a container designed by the very people who plagiarized our archetypes. From this moment on, we call it the universal record. We acknowledge the early custodians, the first arrivals. These first arrivals were not primitives. They were the supreme engineers of consciousness. They encoded this wisdom into the continental grid, turning the land itself into a living archive. We are not converting to a foreign faith. We are returning to our own stolen intellectual property. The altar is not in Jerusalem or Rome. It is anchored in your DNA, and it was powered by the southern cerebrum before the first word of the Bible was ever written. Awake, Africans. The record is yours. This is why, when Isaiah Shembe established the Nazarite movement, he was not merely founding a church, he was turning the key in a very ancient lock. The specific holy days he ordained, the intricate, geometric steps of the sacred dances, the precise rituals, and the priestly garments, none of these were improvised, and they were not simply a blending of cultures. They were the methodical reactivation of a forgotten African science. Shembe took the high curriculum of the Ankh and wove it back into the biological memory of his people. He understood that the colonial prism had made us forget how to access the source. So, he gave us the activation codes. The sacred dance is not just a performance. It is the human body physically tracing the architecture of the cosmos. The rituals are not just tradition. They are the tuning forks of the universal altar. Shembe didn't just bring a doctrine. He brought a recalibration. He didn't just give us a religion. He gave us back our memory. I am the biological altar.